today I meet the expert. I have Nick Scuola, a friend of mine from New York City, well, and the New York City VMUG, and I'm super happy to be interviewing him. Nick, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Nick Scuola. As Ariel said, one of the NYC VMUG co-leaders. I work as a SE for Zerto over in New York City as well, so covering New York City, Long Island, Southern Connecticut. And I'm also, vExpert for NSX, and vExpert for Cloud as well.
Nice.
And I try to be as active in the community as I can be. So here I am.
So the thing I love to do about this one is grab someone that a lot of people may not know a lot about, and just ask them. You're doing a pretty cool job right now.
Yep.
And I know personally that you've been through several very cool jobs.
Yep.
So I want to listen to your story. Like, how did you get into IT first, and what you learned along the way? Because I know you have a lot of good experiences and lessons you can teach others. I know some of your blog posts are heavy on helping others, get to that next level. So tell me about your story.
Yeah. So my story. How did I get into IT? So basically, I broke my computer, when I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
I'm going to date myself a little bit, but, it might have been, Windows 95. And might have done a format C colon, and I was like, oh, wait, now what? Why doesn't it work? And tried calling support. They said, you're on your own. And I was like, okay. And I wound up going through and finding a way to fix it, and I was like, this was kind of fun. Mm-hmm. And I was still a high school kid and just really enjoyed it. I was always kind of inquisitive and curious and wanted to know how things worked and that sort of thing. And then kind of fast forward a little bit, I went to the Marine Corps, and as a couple of people. Did
you go straight from high school enlisted?
So no, so actually I was at St. John's for a little while. I was playing basketball there, and I had some guys in front of me that were pretty good. A couple name changes involved with those guys and stuff, but realized that basketball wasn't for me. It was just the amount of time and competition and all that. So I wanted to do something. My best friend, that I know since I'm 3 years old, went to the Marine Corps before me. So I was like, I could do that. What the hell? So, went in, and they're like, hey, what do you want your job to be? I'm like, oh, I could do computers. And, turns out I got pretty high scores in the test, for entry. And they said, sure, we'd love to have you. And, became a computer guy for the Marine Corps for a while there. And, went overseas. Excuse me. Was in Kuwait and Iraq for a little bit and doing all that stuff. And just kind of.
So you were not just the guy that they tell, hey, take a look at this. They actually sent you in with the stuff and everything.
Yeah, so it was a mix. I would fix things that were on the spot at the location I was at. I'd also kind of travel to other bases and go there. And if I couldn't fix it on the spot, I'd bring it back with me, go through all the repair, and then send it back, on convoys and things like that.
How was that experience for you? Had you traveled a lot before, or was
Nah, I mean,
were you a shy kid and suddenly you're in this situation? So?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely.
I can't see you as a shy kid.
I was very shy. I mean, I was 140 pounds soaking wet now. Not so much anymore. But I was that shy, quiet kid. As it's funny because IT is. I don't want to say it's a nerdy industry, but there's definitely a lot more introverts than you would find in some other fields, and I definitely fit that bill. And really, the camaraderie and just kind of the sense of family and that you find in the military definitely broke me out of my shell a lot. And it was one of those things that definitely shaped my experiences and made me who I am today. Hashtag Be Arthur was a Marine. That's for you, Rebecca. Realistically, everyone has that journey that you might not know you're on it while it's happening, but then when you start looking back and you're like, holy crap, I've done a lot of stuff, and it's really interesting, kind of seeing where I was, where I came, and how I got there.
So you basically came back to Long Island, and you said, what am I going to do now?
Queens, actually.
Queens, okay.
So what happened was, I was actually, when I deployed, I was in the reserve. So my unit was based out of Brooklyn. Floyd Bennett Field. I was with 6Com, and I was working full time as a systems technician at Tommy Hilfiger. So I was there, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. I went overseas.
That's where you got the male model thing. I see.
Yeah, I might throw that in. Actually, I actually got that from Zoolander. Part-time hand model, but So I came back to my job and just kind of continued on it. And while I was, I was doing Windows support. At the time I started with desktop support, did server support as well. And on my spare time I was learning, Cisco networking. So I was a CCNP.
So spare time, I was learning. Nobody goes, I want to learn CCNP on my spare time. How did that happen?
I basically, at the time, this was what? Oh man.
There was
now I'm gonna really freaking date myself now. Yeah. So this is probably back in like 2000, 2001. At the time, like I said, it was monster.com or careerbuilder.com, whatever the site was. Actually, it was computerjobs.com. And what's the highest paying job and what certifications are important? The list that they have every year, and at the time it was get a CCNA, and I'm like, all right, what's after CCNA? So at the time I was a CCNP and a CCDA. I never got around to actually getting the CCDP. But I went out and went on eBay, spent too much money on a lab that was out of date, 6 months later. Taught myself, Cisco networking, and it was great because all the stuff that I was learning on my own applied to my job, even though it was more of a small scale. But then when we got to a point where there were some large network deployments, I was just, I volunteered to help out. And
you were speaking the same language, and people are like, oh, Nick, you know that stuff?
Yeah. Well, as soon as I started talking, EIGRP and BGP and things like that, and my network, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a CCNP. It's like, what? Since when? Why didn't you tell us that? And it was one of those things where I got into it, I did a little bit of it, but I wasn't, I don't want to say I wasn't passionate about it, but it wasn't something that I was like, man, I really want to do this. I want to sit there. And it was funny because at the time I was a desktop support guy, so I was meeting people, and I'm a young kid, so being able to talk to there was a lot of women, so that was nice, and being able to make friends and things like that. And some of the friends that I met there I still have to this day, and we still stay in touch and things like that. And at the time it was just a great experience for me, just to not only learn the technology, because at the time we had cutting edge, Cisco blade switches and things like that, and we had all kinds of high end at the time compact servers, and the environment was pretty cutting edge for where the industry was at that time. But I also got the ability to kind of once again keep breaking out of my shell a little bit, and kind of chip away at that shy kid, and really come into my own, just being able to talk to people.
Yeah, because the first jobs, you don't want to cause a lot of ruckus. You're bow your head down, get you whatever you need to get.
And it's fun too, because if you think about it, when you're in a help desk type position, or especially when I was customer facing, or I would go to their desk and fix whatever issues they had, even swapping keyboards and things like that, you have to talk to people.
Yeah.
You have to have that relationship. You end up, there was 1,000 people in my office.
A lot of times it's more important that you're smiling than when they actually fixed anything.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it was really, and I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I think people that know me understand that, and it's one of those things where the more people I talk to, the more different personalities I engage with. I think it kind of taught me what I liked, what I didn't like, about people. And it's like, man, that guy's an asshole. Pardon my French, but you can kind of tell, and it kind of shaped me in my whole philosophy is just don't be a jerk. Just be a good dude, and try to. If you can help somebody, help them out, and that's kind of why I got involved with, obviously the vExpert stuff and the V community. But yeah, so
fast forward me now from the guy that was working service desk to the first time you were managing a bunch of. Well, tell me about if you ran into VMware at this job, or when did you?
So I actually did. So I don't know the time. I was gonna say somewhere between 2004 and 2006, and I remember I started out with GSX.
There's still a Tommy or something?
Still a Tommy, yeah, still a Tommy, and this was more of I saw a YouTube video of vMotion, and it's funny because you see the hashtag my first time or whatever, and I remember seeing a YouTube video of vMotion where the guy started playing Microsoft Pinball on one computer, the other guy basically vMotioned across the other, and his game continued. I was like, holy crap, that's awesome. And at the time, this was brand new. We had just stacks and stacks of these giant like 12U servers, and it was crazy. So seeing that, I'm like, wait a minute. So we could fit all these different Windows servers inside one box? That's like amazing. And like, I was really intrigued. So I kind of how I did with Cisco, I kind of picked it up in my spare time and started playing. And there was a free version. At the time, I know they cut GSX and it became VMware Server. And then I started playing with that, on my own, and kind of built my own lab at home with VMware Server, and really just got into it. And then, my career kind of evolved a little bit more from there, where I had been with Tommy for about 6 years, and just kind of outgrew the environment and looked for something new, and stayed in the fashion industry. I went over to Steve Madden for a little bit, just because once again it was right by my house in Queens, and it was a great place, and I got to work on some cutting edge stuff there as well. They were going through a large transformation project where they were kind of going away from the traditional rack mounted servers and going to start looking at VMware in a production environment. And I was like, wow, this is great. I'd love to be involved with that, and I did. And I really enjoyed my time there and got to get some hands-on experience. And then, from there, it really
was the first time you did a production remotion by yourself.
Yeah, no, oh man, I was giddy, and I was trying to convey how awesome it was, and I'm like, guys, do you understand what's happening right now? And they're just like, yeah, it's cool, it's awesome, and really just my excitement level, and really was, I wanted everybody to kind of share it. And I was geeked out, and that's where I'm like, man, I wish there was more people like this, and so I started, like I said, I continued on this, and I took a couple other, jobs in between, just because, looking for make a little more money and that sort of thing, and wanted to, provide for my family and everything. And then, I'll skip ahead a little bit, but then basically, I wind up at, a pretty large media company, and I'm running virtualization over there for a while. And I'm exposed to, some awesome stuff. Actually, what? Before that, I was over at a financial institution, where that's where I really got hands-on. For me, it was a large-scale environment. I had 500 or 600 hosts.
You were accustomed to 50 or 100.
Yeah,
suddenly you have 500.
I go from 500 VMs to 500 hosts, and I'm like, holy crap, this is like a completely different world. And I also had a background doing
But it's also the first time probably that you had other admins.
Oh, well, I had others. So actually, when I was at Tommy, we had a team of 4 or 5 awesome guys, and like I said, I still keep in touch with these guys because we had a really good team fit. This is the first time I would say I was probably the lead, where it was kind of my show to run, and I got to do a lot of really cool stuff and adopt some new technology at the time. So I know I started pretty early with Pure Storage, when it was brand new, and people were like, what the hell is SSD? And
I know you even given sessions at Pure World or whatever.
I went out and I did a customer presentation at their kickoff and things like that. Really just on what the experience was, why, what the decision criteria, how we decided on Pure, because traditionally it was an EMT shop. So, why did we go away from a technology that was proven and stable to this company that nobody's heard of, and things like that. And the guy, my manager at the time, Dan Gorecki, he was a great dude, and he really he helped shape, I would say, more of my managerial aspects and things like that, where I don't know if you might know this, but I may not be the most polished speaker sometimes, and the Marine Corps in me comes out, and I get a little potty mouth from time to time. It happens, but realistically, I needed that. I needed the more the business side, and I think that's where I really started to understand. Yes, this is what I clicked. This is how I can make VMware work, but how does the VMware part affect the end user and the business, and how does this translate to my company making money? And really, it kind of transformed my way of thinking, instead of focusing completely on technology. He grabbed this
very, very sharp kid and told him, listen, you have to see the big picture.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that he said it, it was more that I saw him doing it, and I kind of I picked up on it, and I was like, that does make sense. So I really got to start doing that more, because he's kind of kicking my ass, and I'm a very competitive guy, and I don't like to, if I see somebody that's better than me at certain things, I'm gonna try and get up to speed. I might not mention it, but like I try to see everything that's going on and really get to the point where I can not emulate them, but like I was a very into martial arts when I was a kid, and I followed Bruce Lee and things like that, and he was always like, take what works, discard the rest, right? And just because somebody says this doesn't work or that, who cares? Really, if you think it's going to help you in your journey or your career or whatever, do it. And it's kind of similar to a couple of the presentations we just saw today. So I mean that was kind of my evolution, up to that point, and then I started. That's actually when I attended my first VMUG, 09 or something like that. And really just the whole community thing, and really being able to share experiences. And a lot of the jobs I had were, I don't want to say I was isolated, but
siloed maybe?
Not siloed, but like where I didn't really have that team that you were talking about, where it was like, me and 4 engineers. I didn't really have that since like the Marine Corps and Tommy and things like that, where I was always working more skeleton crew, like smaller teams. And even if we did have a bigger team, it was more around those are the AD guys and this was the network guys. So siloed in that sense, but like also I would have junior engineers, but not really those architect level guys where we could bounce ideas off each other. And it was a lot of, trying to find out.
There wasn't a lot of peer review.
Exactly, and being able to find people that, if I have a question about something, because normally I would help answer questions, but I didn't really have someone that I could bounce ideas off of. And that's where the community was huge for me, because now I have this whole wealth of people that I can go and talk to and say, all right, hey man, this is what I'm trying to do. Have you done this before? Has anybody here done this? And really getting answers. And obviously the New York VMUG crew is amazing, and everybody's very collaborative, and they were very willing to help and answer questions. Even though I was at the time, I was still the quiet kid in the corner who really didn't participate much, but that changed a little later on. So
but from the moment I met you was probably 2015,
something like that.
And by that time you were humongous. I mean, you were managing huge environments. You were managing AWS as well. You were doing, you were definitely and now I can tell that you have always been like, okay, something new I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna invest some time on it. So, tell me about that move from going from, you clearly have progressed and you have better environments, better jobs as a customer. Tell me about this latest move to be an NSE.
So now that I'm a SE at Zerto, I've been using the product for about 4 years, and I always thought it was by far the best. And I'm pretty strict when I'm going through bake-offs and that sort of thing about how I'm going to what my decision criteria is, making sure that I'm doing very like-for-like tests as much as I can, depending on the product sets. And I had always thought Zerto was just a great product, and it helped me out in my experiences as a customer. And when Sandy hit, being able to fail things over and just having the confidence and the ability to test. And really, what I explain to a lot of my customers now is that you could spend so much time prepping for just a DR test, where you got network teams and storage teams and compute teams and everybody, the virtualization guys, they're all working together for a couple of months trying to figure out how this test is going to work. Then the test happens, and that's it. All right, we'll see you next year, and everybody kind of goes away. But it's like you've invested a quarter of your year. Now, what could you be doing with that time that's innovative and transformative and things like that, where instead of focusing on something that's really just a requirement that you have to do it. I mean, obviously that's why we exist, but it's one of those things where, what if it was just easier, and what if it was simpler, and you just knew it would work, and you'd have that confidence? And that was one of the things that I loved about the product, as well as the company, and everybody that I had ever worked with there has been amazing. And the culture is great, and it's a place where they definitely value community. They're going to push you to learn and get better and things like that. And it's exactly what I need. Like, I need something that I can have all the drive that I have myself, and really focus it and be encouraged by not only my peers, but my management, everybody. Really just, they all they want the best. They want everyone to succeed, because it really is a team effort, and it's been great.
Well, I also moved to the vendor side
I know,
recently,
look at you.
and for me, and maybe you can talk a little more about this, but for me, moving from being a customer with a sizable environment, and then being a person that's walking in and getting to know all these people, getting to know this politics sometimes, what their environment is like, what their challenges are, what they really stuff. Getting through all that discovery process and getting back to knowing the personalities is super rewarding for me, right?
Yeah, I love it.
And I think that one thing you mentioned before, from all these things, I also started in tech support, and knock engineer, and then I was end user computer like for a long while. So I know a lot that getting, and you mentioned this, that getting to know different people and starting a conversation, and especially when you know how the budget process works, how all these things work, how tough it is sometimes to select something or get something pushed. It really helps a lot, right?
Yeah, so my biggest thing, and this goes back to really understanding the business in IT, right? And I try to, we have a very talented crew, and like our core guys in the VMUG, and, really trying to convey to them how important it is to understand how the business operates, right? And the more they understand the business, the more they'll understand why certain systems are so critical. And it's not only going to help you do your job, but it'll help you advance your career, because now when it gets time to understand, all right, I can use this product that does 125% of what I need to do, or I can use this product that does 90%, but it costs 20% of what the other one does. Do I need that extra percentage of features? Maybe not.
It's always a trade-off,
So it's really understanding why those trade-offs need to be met. What are the objectives you're trying to get? And it's a lot of the stuff that like you learn when you're studying for like your VCAP design, and you're understanding requirements and risks and all that stuff, and really what's involved with that. And I think the more that customers, not only the customers I deal with, but the in-house teams, the more they understand the business and what they're really trying to accomplish at the end of the day, the more it's going to help. And I look at my job as I'm going to try to enable them and help them get better to really, because I like I said, I mentioned Zerto is it's a very simple platform when it comes to ease of use, but what it does is, there's a bunch of different use cases, and it's going to make that engineer or that admin's life so much easier.
And look good when something happens.
Listen, at the end of the day, when something goes down, and you're like, okay, no problem, give me a second, and it's up in a few minutes, now you look like the hero. Now obviously there's going to be some fallout on why it went down in the first place, which but the recovery is really important. And not only the recovery in that traditional just DR use case, but the mobility and being able to take a workload and move it up into Azure or AWS, or move it between clouds, that sort of thing. Like, that's where the industry's going, and it's now. I love the platform because not only does it address the traditional needs of today, but we're looking to address a lot of the issues that are coming down the road. And when I'm talking to customers, it's really understanding what their vision is, and the more I can understand what they're trying to accomplish, I'm going to try and help them out as much as I can. And I can speak to a lot of it from experience as a customer, and because I've had too many jobs, but it definitely helps.
Very cool. So one last thing that you touched on, I know you love helping others, and I know that you apply a lot of the same principles as that you learn in the Marines and you learn through managers or mentors. Tell me a little bit about what you're planning to, like, because I know you've been doing some blog posts. I know there's series, so you normally bring out a very meaty blog post every like 2 or 3 months. So tell me about what else is on your mind.
So I do have a family. So I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. My boys, and my lovely wife at home who really takes care of them. So I don't have as much time as I would like to spend blogging. But
any new job is going to block out your calendar for 6 months.
And this is the thing, though. It really is like they're at the stage where I want to spend a lot of time, with them and focus on them. But I do try to, when I can blog, if I'm traveling or things like that, I'll try and write something up. But I'm doing a post on, or I'm doing a series on how to get more involved with the community. And really, I've been involved with the Level Up project as well, where we're trying to help with, just understanding how you can advance your career, not just your technical skills, which is part of it, how to get certain certifications, that sort of thing, but also how do you I'm an engineer. How do I become an architect? Or I'm a server guy and I want to learn virtualization. How do I do that? Or where do I get started with AWS? You know, those kind of questions that, you know, you might not have the answer to just, you know, when you're first trying to dive in.
Especially if you're like that guy that can't reach out to anybody.
Yeah.
You always want to be, if there's something that can tell you, okay, this is a path forward.
Yeah.
It's a good project.
And it's funny because, so I got my first vExpert in 2017. Hopefully I'll get my second one now. Talking to you, Corey. You know, but if I can get that, you know, it was a great achievement for me because I feel like it definitely, it was nice.
The program speaks to you?
Yeah, it was a nice recognition, you know, for a lot of things. And like, I don't do it for the award. I try to do it in more of a way to, you know, help others. And my biggest achievement when it comes to that program is actually the fact that I was able to get another engineer from Zerto to become a vExpert. And, you know, I think this year I might actually have a few more that wind up getting it. And, you know, being able to help enable others, and, you know, it's one of the things I'm in the very infant early stages of trying to come up with a mentoring program that I want to kind of see if I can get vMUG involved and do it as almost like similar to what we did with the whiteboard meetings and things like that. I want to try and do like a mentoring program where we can almost in a formal way help people and really say, look, what are you trying to do? Or I'm going to connect you.
How can we help you? How can we connect you?
Yeah, you're trying to become an architect. You know what? Here's 3 architects that I know from our group. Let me connect you, and you can talk to them on what their journey looked like and things like that. You know, oh, you want to become a TAM at VMware? I happen to know a guy, and you know, he's great, and he'll be able to kind of put you on the right path, and you know, just really. It's kind of nice now, you know, that I've been in, you know, IT for 20 years, you know, to have the answer key and to be able to say, look, this is how I got here.
To know that you're leading them in a good path.
And to look back, and you know, that was one of the things when I was in the Marine Corps. It's everybody's a leader, you know, and I was a platoon sergeant, you know, for a while, and I was always, you know, one of the squad leaders or fire team leaders or, you know, whatever, and you have to. Not only is like the performance of your Marines important, but it's also their well-being, their safety, and you know, there's other factors that come into play, and I'm trying to apply that into, you know, what we do as well, and really help customers, well, my customers also, but help my members in the vMUG just get better, because, you know, I think.
Well, it's very important to note. The vMUG is made by its members. If the members are engaged, the members are helping each other, the vMUG is thriving. So.
Yeah, and it's not just vMUG, it's any user group. You know, it's any user group, it's any community, and that's why, you know, I've been referring a lot more to just the V community in general, because there's things like, you know, today we're at the VTUG, and, you know, there's different outlets. You have Twitter, you have, you know, Reddit, you have all these different avenues. You got the VMTN community. There's always places where you can talk to people, and it's how do you put that guy who's just starting, how do you let them know where that stuff is? And that's kind of where I'm trying to bring this out. And, you know, I think what's happening, you know, not just with like, you know, Level Up and you know, vMUG's been making strides with that as well. You know, if I can help on my own too, you know, locally, I'm gonna try and do that. So.
Well, I think we can finish on that note. I look forward to anything that you're involved in this year.
I appreciate it.
And I really appreciate sitting down with me and telling me your story so others can get to know you, and when they see you, I almost forgot. Oh, you gotta let them know how to find you, because now they know you. They can come and say hi to you. So
so you could find me on Twitter at Scuola. That's NSCUOLA. I'm on LinkedIn at Nicholas Scuola. You know, and you could hit me up on my blog at spookysolutions.wordpress.com, and I have the domain too. I just have to go through and actually cut it over. But that's where you can find me, and you know, hopefully you'll see, you know, everything on Twitter, and you can also follow
or if you ever come to the New York City vMUG, you can either.
NYCvMUG.blogspot.com. You know, come on out, and you know, we'd love to have you for a meeting. So
cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.